fundamental part of our future. And I think what's interesting is we're entering 2020 where, as Angus and I were talking earlier on, we've flown a hell of a lot less than we did in 2019. And these sort of things have a real impact. But I think there's so much more we can do. And I think what we really look at today is what else can we do to make our industry significantly greener and much more sustainable from a planetary, from an ocean, from a behavioral perspective. And Angus and Lucia and Jorge are going to join me in a conversation about one thing I think is an opportunity, which I put forward to the organizers of the boat show, the yacht show, to say the Balearics is beautiful. It is a very special place. It has what I call incredible cruising grounds and the most beautiful waters. And I'm sure most of you have spent time in those waters and enjoyed it. But as you walk around marinas and walk around harbors and walk around beaches in any location globally, it's not always as pure and perfect as we'd like it to be. So I put a suggestion forward that the Balearics could be what I call a benchmark location to almost set a new standard, and where the Mediterranean has a standard raised by the Balearics to be the greenest, most sustainable, most eco-friendly cruising ground for the super yacht sector. And I feel that's something we need to sort of set out, not as an opportunity to discuss and agree today, but to set out an agenda for the long term, almost aligned with the sustainability goals of the UN. By 2030, we've built a project that allows us to aim for something that's in the future, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, to really make sure we use this test case of the Balearics as a greenest hub on the planet for super yachting per se, because it's an opportunity. And I feel that the panel today have got three different perspectives: Port Authority, operational and service center of the actual yachts themselves, and the shipyard, which is another major part of the green issue or green topic. So Angus, Lucia and Jorge, thank you for joining us. My first question to all three of you that I want to just try and get a perspective on is, in your personal opinion, what are the most important or most fundamental green challenges that we experience in yachting, from a port or marina, from a shipyard, or actually on board the yachts? Jorge, you go first. What's the most important green challenge that you as a port authority think is something we can really focus in on?
Thank you very much, Martin. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to thank the organization of this event for the opportunity to explain in this session the vision of the Balearic Port Authority to ensure that our nautical facilities are greenest and cleanest. Balearic Port Authority, as you know, is a public organism that manages 5 ports in Balearic Island: Palma, Alcudia, Ibiza, Maona, and La Sabina. And in the question, in my opinion, the ecological challenges is necessary in nautical sector would be first, zero emissions. When boats are docked, should be connected to the electricity grid, and even engines that do not use fossil fuels, I think. In the second place, I think the energy consumption of buildings, of boats, should come from renewable sources. I think too that the waste generated in a nautical facility should be reduced to the maximum. At those that are produced should be segregated in order to able to apply the ERG reuse, recycle, and recover as best as possible. And I think too, we must search for solution to the large water consumption of nautical facilities, looking for alternatives such as desalination. I think so. Is my opinion. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Jorge. Lucia, as a shipyard, let me sort of ask you, what are your biggest challenges on the green topic? That's one of your primary objectives and briefs from the management, isn't it?
Okay. in the shipyard, we are welcoming a lot of people from the crew members, people from other companies. And one of the challenges is to improve the recycling facilities to make them more comprehensive for people around the world. The thing is, not in every in Europe there are different approaches to recycling of materials. So a person that comes from Italy will not really understand from the beginning, or may not really understand the colors, for example, that are used in the Balearics. So we are always trying to improve our communication with crew members and also with companies to make sure that the recycling of the collection and the recycling of waste is perfect. That ensures that the materials can be reused, but also helps us to avoid contamination of the sea. And a second thing is to avoid any material like plastic to fall into the sea. So a danger is small bits like plastic cans or cutlery or rolls, or those kind of things that sometimes are used in the quay, and if you are not concerned about it, things can be swept by the wind into the sea, and that's terrible, especially because we sometimes use plastics in our industrial works. We have to continuously improve our practices to avoid anything to fall into the sea. And the last thing I think we have to work in is emissions, as Jorge say. The climate change is a world problem, and anything that we can do to reduce our consumption of electricity or to make it greener or to change the combustible we are using will be fantastic. So that will be the three vectors, I will say: residues, water, and air.
Cool. Thank you, Lucia. Okay, Angus, the yacht market is a fairly broad, diverse sector. Lots of yachts going around the world. What are your biggest challenges you think that is on board the boat?
On board the boat, are we talking about fundamentally? I mean, if we talk about fundamentally, the biggest challenge I think, for the Balearic Islands, I suppose, is the desire for everyone to come together and the desire for change and improvement. So I think everybody has their role to play. So we're as a supplier to the Balearic Islands, whether you're a marina, you're a shipyard, we each have our individual roles to play. But we hope that all those roles also are become a common sort of thing. So, but you have to compartmentalize it, I suppose. So our challenge is to provide products to the customers within the Balearic Islands in the most sustainable way that we possibly can. So that's how we package things. That's how we ship things to the islands. And the important thing is that we ship as much as we can in one lot, fill a pallet and get that to the island. And then I think, the challenges for each sector varies, the challenge for a marina, the challenge for a shipyard, the challenge for a yacht, it all varies. So creating the better facilities around the island, which are readable for the user, so for the yacht user to understand what those facilities are and how they can be used best, so recycling facilities, things like that. And I think, it's really about everyone doing their little bit, and if we can bring all the organizations together to have that common desire for improvement, then that can help the fundamental change and moving forward in that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point in terms of shipping of goods and services and transportation of materials. I remember an anecdotal story of a yacht being in New Zealand that had some fish flown from Paris to the boat in New Zealand. And this culture shift needs to happen because that does not make sense.
No.
And I think that's part of the conversation we have to look at is how do we change that mindset to say, reduce the impact by thinking smarter and going back to this thing of how you order something. These other things that come into the conversation, which relate to how far away a supplier is and what the impact will be on that shipping process. These things suddenly become part of that ecosystem that develops.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to, what we do with our business is we want to, we use distribution network and we use suppliers locally. So we try and ship as much as stock as we possibly can to that location. And then we encourage people to buy locally. We need the yachts to buy local, whether it be food, paints, clean products, whatever it may be. The best thing is to buy local because the product's there, generally the product's there, buy local, and also keep the money in the local economy as well. Keep, circular economy. Let's keep the money local and the produce local as well. Let's not ship small boxes. So we do get yachts coming to us directly, but we encourage them and send them to our network of stockists. It helps the local economy, and we know we've already got stock there, so we push them towards our stockists.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to go through 3 questions to each of you. So 1 question per person, basically, which is going to give you all a chance to almost highlight what you are doing or what is your approach to what I call the green agenda. And then we'll have a discussion right at the end. Basically, we're going to start off with the Port Authority. What are you doing to tackle the green agenda? There's a small presentation you're going to deliver, but I think you're part of the process now to make sure that when we look at the Balearics as a region, if the Port Authority and the government and all the various other authorities are aligned with the industry, we have a better chance of creating a better green agenda. So Jorge, what is the Port Authority doing? Do you want to show your presentation?
Okay. I would like to show a little presentation for explain this question. Okay. First of all, I would like to explain that the Port Authority has the following commitments to the environmental. First, meet the demand decided by Balearic Society of Sustainable Development. Okay. Integrate environmental consideration in the process of the planning, management, design, and execution of the infrastructure to protect the marine and the port environmental. Make a rational use of available natural research, encourage environmental training and education aiming at the institution staff, optimize economic management by making profitable and protecting available research, and finally, carry on studies and research in matters related to port activity and protect the environmental. Okay. By the side, I want to expose to you a little bit of our initiatives. We are working in APB, more of them about nautical sector. In relation to reducing emission, APB has in our 5 ports a net with 25 sensors that can send us in real time the quality air. In this slide, you can see each station with the sensor in the port of Palma. We can obtain data every 10 minutes, and we can compare it then with the port activity. Okay. Also, we publish in our website for all the 5 ports the average of the parameters that characterize air quality. We can make comparison in different stations or sensor with every parameters. Moreover, it's interesting to identify the procedent of the pickup of pollution. We can mix with activity of ferries with EIS system and check if there is a relation. It's important to say that it is a pioneering project with no precedent. Okay. Another project we are carrying on, and it had to be part in the nautical installation, is having electrical connection in piers from a dock. Yacht has to have its engine running, producing noise and emission. Next year, we have provision of connecting a ferry in medium tension, and it will be the first project in Spain. Okay. Another environmental aspect to consider in order achieving environmental excellence in a nautical facility will be to improve the quality of the water. I want to explain 3 projects that we have implemented. Then has a big success in nautical sector. It's called SAMOA, driven by Puerto del Estado. This project consists on prediction wind waves in different points in our coast with high definition. SAMOA allows user of waves and wind in different points. It is planned in the next year. We have an expansion of this project that permitted us predict a fuel stain in the port has traveled and where it's going facility as the author of the cleaner. Okay. The project, other project. This is the third important project that we recently are managing in the Ibiza port. Is cleaning water service that use a photovoltaic ship and clean 5,000 meters by hour. Also, it has a drone that permit clean the most difficult areas like corner or near other ship where can waste big accumulate. Other initiative or other project in relation to water cleaning is I want to stand out a recent agreement that we have signed with Save the Med, and we are supporting the campaign against ghost fishing that cause a lot of marine species dies in special turtles. About reduce the waste, I said before. In our nautical infrastructure, we have 2 projects relation in monitoring this waste. First of this project is a net of intelligent beams that will detect the maximum level of empty, compress the waste, increasing the capacity of the beam. When it detects impossible compress, it sends a signal for collect. These beams are managing with photovoltaic energy, and we can optimize the collection. The second project consists on monitoring organic matter container from restaurant in Port of Palma, with the finally of convert this matter in compost. These establishments have to take the product made with this compost. This is a pilot project, and it was carried out this year in Palma. Another environmental aspect to consider in the port is energy consumption. Our commitment is to renewable energy, and we are working in 6 projects to transfer 6 terminals and convert them into buildings with almost zero consumption and only use only renewable energy. I want to point to 2 projects founded by the European Union, valid project, which consists of the implementation a battery. I think it's this one. Consists of a battery that uses an electrolyte less harmful to the environmental. The photovoltaic energy that will be generated in the Ibiza maritime station will be stored in this battery. Okay. Finally, in this part of the energy consumption, I want to talk about monitoring of water and energy net, installing a smart meter and permit us now in real time the consumption of different infrastructure imports. All of these examples are in the APB strategy for being green ports. To encourage and accelerate this part of the nautical sector, we have a very powerful tool, which is the good practice agreement. Good practical agreement, this one, in concordance with the port law, we offer nautical facilities the possibility of signing an agreement, a good environmental practice, through with the APB rewards 50% of the activity rate. For this is necessary three conditions being certificate in ISO 141 or EMAS. Revising the second condition, revising the good practice guide in the state port, and finally make ambient inversions with at least 50% minimum rewarded. Okay. This is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you very much indeed. Very interesting. So essentially, what it's very clear to me, Jorge, from what you're showing in that presentation, is that there's an accelerated thought process within the islands and within the network of the government departments to actually start this process off of becoming a green hub. And I think that's a very, very fundamental message that the Balearic tourism authorities, the various industry bodies need to communicate, because there's another factor in this whole conversation from my first keynote presentation is the next generation of customers, the buyers of yachts of the future, will make decisions based on green credentials. So I think that's another key factor into the whole future of our market. So Lucia, to attract clients and to make sure clients know what you're doing as a shipyard, you've got various challenges as a refit facility. What are you doing as Astilleros to tackle those green issues and to build what I call the smartest, greenest shipyard?
Okay.
That's your brief.
We've been certified for almost 16. Yeah. We've been certified for almost 16 years by ISO 14001 with low register of shipping. And so we've been working for a really long time. And a lot of projects started 16 years ago, and we continue maintain them and working. So, for example, we have a treatment plan to avoid any residue from washing from the washing of house to enter the sea. We have solar panels for to produce our sanitary water. We have a recycling area where almost any hazardous waste will find a place. We have different bins. This approach that we have of having an open area, I think it's very helpful for clients, because they can go there, they will find the bin they need to use, and we can assure that materials are recycled in the origin, rather than mix everything in a bag and then have someone trying to find the kind of waste that you have in there. So we also have free osmosis fountains to everyone. The city town is trying to ban the selling of bottles of water in a pair of years. It will be done first of all in institutional buildings, but we believe that the water is there to be used, and you don't need to buy a bottle. So we have fountains for everyone. We have a video showing how our installations are organized, a video that is especially prepared for crew members, and other one for companies that come to work in our facilities. We are always trying to, or inviting boats to connect to our sewage main line to avoid any sewage to be directly discharged to the sea, and to improve the quality of the port waters. We continue seeing boats that are not capable to be connected to a main line. Sometimes because they have different connections in different spaces, so sometimes it's really difficult to be connected to them. So that's a work we have to do in the market also, to be sure that all the boats are able to connect to the sewage systems on the ports. And almost all the boats that arrive here have the possibility to be connected to our electric supply. We have a few examples of boats that need 60 years connection and do not have a shore power connection to connect to the European type of electricity. We stopped using plastic bags during this year. We have paper bags right now. It's not easy because they are not as strong in some cases as plastic, so it's sometimes difficult. We are covering the boats that we work with, sometimes because we are doing paint work, for example, or we are varnishing, or we are sanding. So in every case that we can use a reusable plastic, we are choosing to do it and trying to use it as much as possible to avoid residues. And with regards to plastic, because some of the covers are done with single-use plastics that are retractable, we are trying to close the loop in cooperation with some paint companies and with companies that work in the scaffolding. We are trying to partnership with the company that is interested in using those plastic and produce a thing that can be used again in the nautical market. That will be fantastic, to reuse this and produce fenders or whatever plastic thing that is used in the market. We have a big stock of products sorbents to eliminate spills. I have to say that even if the Port Authority has a boat that cleans the surface of the sea, we sometimes receive spills that come from all the parts in the port, and we have a lot of sorbents and try to collect those residues and recycle them. Plans for the future. Well, this year we have changed our electric contract, and we are buying certified renewable energy. We are trying to find a partnership with someone to reuse textiles. Nowadays we are throwing them to the normal bin, so it's a waste of material. And I think that's, we are calculating, this is the first year we calculate our carbon footprint, and we will keep on doing it and try to make it as small as we can, with initiatives like having, those solar panels or electric vehicles and buying greener air conditioning units. And I think that's all. For the next year, we will try to implement a change in the products that we use in-house to clean our buildings. It's an initiative that is in line with the local authorities that are doing so in their buildings. So we will try to use only certified ecological products. And I think that's all. Quite a lot of things.
That's plenty, Lucia. Well, a very quick question I was going to ask you is that, do you think the customer really cares about the environmental initiatives you're putting forward? Does that change their decision process?
I think so, not in all the cases, but I try to welcome captains to the CBR when they come and explain a bit the things that we do, and explain that we want to be very active in this in the environmental protection. And I have to say that 7 years ago, captains were saying like, oh, okay, this lady is going to tell me. And now it's very different. Captains really push, they really ask for things that we are not prepared, so we have to implement it. So I think that there is an awareness in this market, and people is getting more and more interested in it.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Angus, listen, we've got a big fleet out there that has quite a large impact on the planet, indirectly and directly. What can those yachts do to change the status quo or tackle the problem?
Well, there's so many things they can do, but I mean, push for change. Push. They are the ones. They're the ones purchasing product from places. They're the ones using marinas, using the shipyards. They sort of hold. What's the term I'm looking for? Well, they can be the ones that push change. They can desire the change. So and that comes with everything from buying local. That can be going to the top of the head of the marinas and asking for, hey, maybe next time we come back next year, maybe we could use slightly more renewable power. Maybe we can, even if we just change the container park to solar powered energy rather than for the mains. These questions can all go to the top. Also, from a social aspect, get the crew to be involved in the local area. We saw earlier Save the Med campaign. Get involved in local NGOs. Also, I think from sort of a recycling point of view, I know Lucia touched on the recycling at Astilleros. Whether that yacht is going to a location that recycles or not, you can always do the recycling on board. And then when you arrive in the location, then whether they recycle or not, at least you've done your part. But then you can push the change to the local marina or shipyard, etc. I think it's also really important for yacht crews to educate themselves and try and look and not get trapped in the misinformation of the eco kind of ideologies there are. Since I started, EcoWorks, I've had to educate myself very, very much, and I've learned an incredible amount, and I've learned many things that people may not like to hear, but unfortunately some things, they're true, and they're not necessarily what we all think they are, in terms of everything from packaging to shipping to everything that we do. So I think it's important for people for crew to educate themselves, and we're seeing more and more of that type of thing as well. We have crew calling us up, grilling us for an hour. I had it just last week, grilling us for an hour about our product, which is great. It's great. And that's what they need to do. They need to grill the management company, grill the supply companies, grill the shipyards, and push that change and put them on edge. And because if there's questions I don't know, I go in search of those questions. I go in search of the answers, of the sustainable answer to offer the crew member.
I think it's interesting. I think, Lucia, you mentioned it before in a previous call we had. This idea of transparency is also important, just to source of material, source of chemical, and being able to read the label of something is very important. So you may have a bit of a green agenda on some sort of material, but actually when you look closer, it may be a nominal contribution. So that education that Angus is talking about means we have to absolutely do our homework. We have to read carefully and almost challenge, as you say, Angus, is it really green, or is it really going to make a difference? Because I think you're right, that there's an army of 50,000 plus crew out there who are all young and thinking about the future, that want to say, A, they can make a difference, but also they should choose their location, their cruising ground, their supply chain, or their shipyard based on something that they believe in. And it is almost a cultural shift we need to sort of see accelerate.
Absolutely. I think I mean, beach cleans, they're a great thing. Don't get me wrong. You know, they're perfect. They're you know, great. We get everyone cleaning up the beach. I mean, I live in the West Country of England. I go to the beach. I pick up plastic every time I go to the beach. But
yeah.
Let's look at business beyond the beach clean. You know, what is the business really doing? What are they doing at their core? What is their business? What are they actually doing? How are they supplying whatever they're supplying? How are they powering their office? How are they, you know, how are they flying people around the world? Are they flying asparagus from New Zealand to you know, to wherever, Europe, back to Europe? You know, what are they really doing? Let's look beyond the beach clean. And find out what that company is really doing, and that's about education, and that's about the crew putting your suppliers and the people that you use on the edge, and really asking them the questions, you know, and that will push the change. That will push the change.
But also, what's interesting is you talk about beach cleans, Angus, and I'm going to sort of challenge that topic because there's a lot of them, and they become a PR machine that everyone's sort of regurgitating across the market. With this coming to a beach clean this week and someone's doing one the next month or whatever, and it becomes a bit of a token approach.
Yeah.
So we need to look at an industrial-wide strategy, and to look at it in terms of, right, beach cleans, as you say, are good and add value, but the next day there's more waste there again, so you have to do it almost every day. To change that beach clean approach. The big question is, you've got loads of beaches around the Balearics, you've got loads of beautiful cruising grounds and wonderful anchorages and all these wonderful places which attract yachting. What can we do if you take the Port Authority, the yachts themselves, the shipyards, rather than just annual or quarterly beach cleans? What can we do as a let's say a territory of the Balearics to really make that difference? To just say, okay, whoever comes into this, the fines are absolutely punitive, or there are green police everywhere around the region to check what things are being spilled or waste or lost overboard. And it becomes almost imposing this green culture. So what can we really do to make that difference and say the Balearics is the greenest place? If you want to come cruising, these are the things that we've done to make your experience pure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important that we all come together. I think as I think I said earlier, you know, as a supplier, as a shipyard, as a marina, and offer something to visiting yachts. Offer information. Offer, whether it be educational or information about where to recycle. Make the recycling facilities very obvious. Make it mainstream, so each marina across the Balearics has the same coloured bins for cardboard, has the same coloured bins for glass. Make it easy for the user. There's something in the UK as well. We have, it's called 1 minute beach clean, and at many beaches across the West Country you'll find a litter picker and bin bags available. So when you go to the beach for the day, you can just do your own quick beach clean, fill the bin bag, throw it in the bin. You know, there's those sort of initiatives. It's about making everything visible and usable for the visiting yachts people. So yeah, so sewage waste treatment plant, make it visible, make it known, make it, you know, provide them with the information. Maybe, you know, provide them with, we talked about, you know, an online platform to use for the Balearics as the Green Hub platform, possibly, with all the possible information about what that yacht can do to their best ability to be as sustainable as possible when visiting the Balearic Islands. From everything from buying local to recycling to picking up some litter when you go to the beach on the weekend. And bringing all that information together to one platform, I think would be the best thing possible to do. And that takes a common desire through all the industry to achieve that.
I agree. The education is the key point. We are. For example, think about people that is throwing the cigarette butt in the floor in our CBR. That cigarette is going to the rainwater drain in a minute. So when we have people cleaning the yard, it's really important to educate the people to use the estuaries. It's a stupid thing, but it is as simple as that. Also, as we are by the sea, it's important to close the lids of the containers. So if you do not do that small act of closing it, things can be swept by the wind to the water. That's a very important thing to do. I don't think we are in the position, or I will not ban or think about impose fines, but to work in education. And I also agree that cooperation between all the companies in the Port Authority will help. If we all have the same colors, if we have the same approach, even if we also have the same leaflets that explain the same things, will be easier for clients and for our own workers.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
I agree with them. Education is very important. I think that the user from the nautical sector that come to the Balearic Island should find not only exemplary and innovative facilities that respect the environmental, like those commented before, renewable energy, minimization of waste, reduction of water consumption, electrical energy, all things. No? But the most important thing is that they perceive that the natural environment in which they navigate is a precious good that is being protected, and it is being ordered to prevent it from degrading, no? And even improve it. The user of the nautical sector must interiorize this commitment and became a partner of the local society in the preservation of the environmental. And I think is my opinion.
I think what's interesting is whenever you cruise around the Mediterranean, when you're on your boat, you go to an anchorage, you go to a bay, you go cruising, and to the untrained eye, without any scientific equipment, the sea looks beautiful. The sea looks clean and wonderful, and it's blue, and all the positives that you get from a yachting experience. So therefore, people don't see the problem as being a major issue when they're in Ibiza or Formentera or wherever, because it looks stunning. The impact is on the shore, the impact is in the marina, the impact is on land, and where the sea and land come together, the beaches. Is there an opportunity, and maybe Jorge, you have an opinion on this, because I think I talked about punitive fines to stop people making these mistakes. Now, fines are not a positive thing to do, but can you look at opportunities where people make and I use this word very carefully today, but a green tax, or a cruising tax that is all about the eco values of the islands, where people pay for every boat that comes to the region, they pay €100 that goes into a green fund to finance renewable energy, sustainability goals, and other things that are going to make it over the next 5-10 years achieve your goals. Because people are happy to come cruising the Balearics, but would they pay something, or do you think they'd pay something to make things even better? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud as to green taxes or contribution models to change the landscape.
So I'll just come in quickly there. I'll just say, I think something similar, but maybe like an audit. You know, if you take the Galapagos Islands, they're a national park. So any yacht arriving in the national park basically gets audited. The local authorities come on board and they check what you have. They check what products you have on board, for example. And I know in the group chat here, we've got a guy, Oscar, he's just talked about fines in Turkey. And that's something that's still happening in Turkey. It's something Croatia talking about. They are fining people for having suds in the water, oil residues around your boat in the water. And I think, yeah, that comes from higher up and from auditing and from checking. So there could be a criteria for a visiting yacht of what they do when they're within the Balearic waters. So what they're using as products, what they're pumping into the water, Of course, we have the 12-mile rule where you're not allowed to pump within 12 miles. But now, how many people, let's be honest, follow that all the time, So I think we need to get stricter with auditing boats, checking what they're putting into the water.
Well, you can pump 12 miles off and then it flows straight back in.
Well, yeah, precisely. Yeah.
There's loads of issues with that rule. No, I just feel there's an opportunity that if the port authorities, the local and regional and tourism governments want to sort of set an agenda and set a standard, that idea of the inspection, the green inspection survey, the penalties for doing things that are against your guidance notes or guidance rules, and then this idea of a contribution to a green fund to finance green initiatives or renewable energy initiatives or cleanups or whatever. This almost has to be something that will come through a movement or through a mobilization of a community that says, we want to attract yachting, but we only want to attract the right yachting. That people who respect our island, our nation, because there's two different types of tourism. There's what I call high-end tourism and there's mass tourism. And to me, some of the problem you have with the islands is probably more mass tourism driven than yacht tourism or luxury tourism. So there's different dynamics here at play. But I feel that the opportunity for the Balearics is to say, okay, as a port authority, as a regional government, as the industry of yachting, to say, okay, we want to make a stand. We want to prove to the world that we have a responsibility to our coastal waters, to our 12 miles offshore, and everything that is within it. I feel that the government has to react and support the industry by maybe incentivizing people as well, by having this relationship of, can we clean up our industry and our region, and can the government give us some sort of benefits for that? Lucia, what do you think about the government's intervention?
In my opinion, well, when we have to decide what we have to do regarding environment, we have the option to give money to a foundation, or we have the option to do things ourselves. And I prefer to do things ourselves, myself. And so when you ask, when you think about making the yachting market to pay a tax or something like that, I think that it will be better to have like an eco label for yachts. Perhaps an institution like Lloyd's Register or any other classification society will be able to do it. So I think it will be better to have a level that this boat is complying, is complying more than is required. So it's doing more that it is compulsory for him to do. And then the port authority may give a discount on the rates or something like that. So I think it's better to instruct people or to educate people to do things by themselves, and if they can have a reduction on the expense they have to do in the marina, that's perfect. That will be an initiative. But I prefer things that make people do what they have to do. So we don't have to clean beaches because we are not polluting them. So that will be my approach.
Yeah, but on that point, Lucia, all the initiatives that you're putting in place at Astilleros de Menorca, is there a benefit of that in terms of any tax reduction or incentives from the government to do that, or is that purely a strategic personal project?
Well, we do not have that reduction. As Jorge commented before, there is a plan. They do have, you can have an agreement with them and meet those reductions. We haven't done it up to now. That does not mean that we look for that agreement with the Port Authority, but up to now we haven't done it. We do it because we believe in it. In fact, when I arrived to the yard, our director gave me this work or this idea. We have to be more responsible. We have to do it better. And in the yard, a lot of people, a lot of the workers we are here, we really love the sea. We have people doing kayaking. We have divers, so we have people that wants to do snorkeling. So we really love the sea. So it's normal that we give back what we are getting, the pleasure we are getting from the sea.
Yeah, understood. Okay, can I ask you a question? How long have you been with the Port Authority? How long have you worked for the Port Authority?
20 years. 20 years.
20 years. Okay. So you've seen a massive change.
Mhm.
So can I ask you, has the attitude of the Port Authority changed towards yachting in the last 5-10 years?
Well, in the last 5 years, has changed absolutely, because the environmental subject 10 years ago weren't very important for the Port Authority. That in this moment the society the environmental question is the best important, and I think Port Authority is improving, doing a lot of projects like I have comment. I think the change is very important. I think in the next years is grow up.
But what is the perception or the relationship between the Port Authority and the yachting industry? Not just the environment, but the relationship between one industry like yachting and the Port Authority. Is it a positive relationship?
Yes. I think it's very positive. I think it's better agreements. And when I said before, I believe in positive incentive. That more than penalties. Okay.
So reward rather than penalty.
Yeah.
Understood. Good. Okay, Alice, how are we doing for time?
We're okay for time at the moment. Actually don't have a session directly afterwards, so there's no super rush if you want to keep talking for a bit longer.
All right, cool. Listen, can we open into any questions or comments? With a few things that have come into the chat box in terms of, I'll read one from probarkers.com, is mindset and habits can be changed with time and patience, some investments in the correct place. Green Challenge should be subject to work on Balearic Marine Cluster, especially to help the small companies achieve this challenge. Do you agree? Is the Balearic Marine Cluster the way to help small enterprises on the island to meet the Green Challenge?
Yeah, I think so. We have, and at Astilleros de Mallorca, we have a department taking care of environment because we are a big company. Not such a big, but but we can afford it. But it's not easy if you have a company of 3 or 4 people, let's say. So yeah, Balearic Marine Cluster will make it easier for small companies, and it's an actor that may make all the companies to work together in one direction. So I think it's a great idea to count on them.
Good. Okay, I knew Oscar would have a few things to add into the chat here. Please take these in the right spirit. The Harbour Authority attitude has changed by demanding more, but not to the benefit of yachting. Jorge, do you agree?
Well, I think the society has changed. Whole society is not Port Authority only. Okay. Port Authority is represented by the society.
Okay. Oscar's got another little dig here in terms of saying the yacht industry tries to come to better terms, but they're permanently rejected. 30-year-old sad story. Listen, I think, Oscar, come on the microphone if you want to have a chat. It'll be quite fun. Angelica, besides education, what would you say is the biggest gap to turn Balearic Island ports 100% sustainable? Oh, here he is. Hi, Oscar. I'll come to you in a second. So what is the biggest gap to any of you to turn the Balearics 100% sustainable? Now, 100% sustainable is a really big target. We need to do it in steps. So, Angus, any thoughts on the what's the big gap?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest gap is time, really. You know, we're not going to turn this around in 6 months or a year. I think You have to just take every little step, and every organization has to choose what they're going to do next, and then pick the next thing and put a time scale on it. And this isn't going to happen in a year. This is going to happen maybe 10 years. We take. I mean, I'm talking about the UK here, but take the UK. They've set a task: 2030, no more production of petrol or diesel cars.
Yep.
I mean, that's 10 years time, but 10 years will come around pretty quickly, right? So the biggest gap is just time, really, and producing a schedule, an achievable schedule, and by putting a goal in for each year up to those 10 years to achieve.
Well, I think that's the point. That's the point. We're in a situation where if we say 2030 is the UN sustainability goals, and you set out a Balearic strategy that meets that timeline, it all becomes very clearly aligned and has a workable calendar. You can't do things, as you say, overnight or in 1 year. It's impossible. There has to be a culture shift, a mindset change, and also some, as you say, manageable goals set out over those periods of time. So that it's almost be realistic is, I think, the key thing in the whole process. Roberta Juliana has said, what about a provisioning company? How do you deal with them? We set up our company a few years back to deal with this sustainability topic, I'm assuming. Any thoughts? How can provisioners deal with this green agenda?
I think provisioning is it's always a tricky one. Provisioning, isn't it? If we're talking about food provisioning, then buying local, getting it's a tricky one. I mean,
I think Angus, it's a simple thing. Change the approach to your cooking or catering or serving food on board.
Absolutely. If you're into
going in the world, there's fantastic food.
Yeah, if you're into and you want asparagus, Tahiti hasn't got asparagus. Do you really need to fly asparagus in? come on, let's change the mindsets of the owners as well. Let's fight back. Fight back and go. Come on, sir. Do you really need your asparagus right now? Let's down the road. They're selling these Spanish
tomato.
Yeah. Let's. I think provisioning is difficult. There's a lot of demand for specific foods in certain areas where it's just not possible. And I think the issue is this: as a provisioner, maybe you say, no, I can't get that, but then maybe you're running the chance of them just going to the provisioner next door who will provide that. So again, it's a joint effort to just say, you know what, we're going to provide this product at this time of year in this country, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and also it comes down to communication in terms of that. This is why we do this, in terms of these short-term supply chains based on seasonality, based on availability, and based on best product on the island.
Absolutely.
And to me, if I was a cruising the Balearics, I'd want the local stuff because it tastes better.
Yeah.
In many cases.
I think going off subject a little bit, but I think in terms of food and provisioning, I think one day we will see a big shift in the fact that we will only be able to get your vegetables that are in season or fruit in season at the time. And I think we can drive that as well by provisioning only that to the guests.
But there are simple things to be done. For example, the city council has made a commitment that they are going to improve the filtering of the water in Palma de Mallorca, and that way the taste of water will be better, and people may be able to drink tap water instead of using plastic bottle. And it's an example that the governments in the Balearics are really trying to make the change possible. And also, if you go to the city and you have a walk by, you will see that the cycling is really improving. You have paths, specific paths for cycling. There's a lot of new mobility, electric mobility, that is it's going to lower down the emissions in the city. So they're really the city and the islands are really working in sustainability.
Good. Oscar, how are you?
Yes,
Buenas tardes.
I'm very well. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes.
So tell me, what do you think about this this whole situation? Let's be positive. Let's look ahead. Let's look to the future. You've been in this business as long as I have. You look better than I do. However, can I put something into your head? if you had a blank canvas and you wanted to make the Balearics the greenest hub on the planet, what would you like to see happen?
I would just take every single stakeholder that had any weight on the thing and close them tightly in a huge hotel for a month and change the mentality. No, it's not to be laughed, and change the mentality. Because unfortunately, we Mediterranean countries, is either you are with me or you are against me, right? So there is not a getting together tradition that will make things better. We are a little bit special on that thing. Jorge, I know Jorge quite well, and I know the Harbour Authority very well, because for 17 years I was part of the concession, right, from there. Jorge is writing what he says, and actually he cannot do more because the state harbour law tells him that he has to squeeze concessions as much as possible with private investments for the benefit of the harbors. So these guys, they are doing what the law says. The thing is, I think they could apply, depending where they are, Barcelona, Asturias, Galicia, or wherever, apply a little bit of local situation knowledge and said, no, listen, we are having all these guys, they need these kind of things, we can get up to that, let's go chat, sit down, explain, and push together. That has not happened for the last 30 years. The moment, and I say 30 years, because 30 years ago, the marinas started growing, getting bigger, the yachts made that jump over the 50 meter, with Lady Ghislaine was one of the first ones over the 50 meters, yep. Right? And that's the situation we have now. We just don't understand each other, and we are not going to make enough effort to understand each other. I must say, we, the yachting industry, we are doing close to everything possible as effort to try to meet ends, just that to be able to work together. The state administration, it is tighter because of the laws, but I don't see the effort of trying to do it now.
Okay, so let's go back to the positive spin again. You're saying everyone in a room to discuss what would be the things we need to change and how can we change them together. So the question is, if I put you on the spot now, Oscar, green eco-sustainability as a topic, how green do you think the Balearics are today?
We are in a very good position because the mentality of the user has changed quite a lot.
Yes, agreed.
You know, yes, small, big, actually a hell of a lot of people from Northern Europe coming to the Med also have helped to change those things. So good. They wanted to see things better managed, cleaner, you know, less harming the nature and the whole thing. So we started working on that, and we're in quite a good position. To get better, well, definitely it's a matter of education, but education, not educate only the children. I mean, we grown-ups, we are very tough to be educated. We've seen everything and we don't want to learn anymore, you know? Just we want to have some fun and
I disagree. I learn something every day. I learn something every day, and that's my mission. You have to learn something different every day. But Oscar, okay, yes. As a final,
it's not impossible.
As a final comment to the whole panel, if you had let's say an objective for the next 10 years to make the Superyacht Hub of the Balearics the greenest location in the Mediterranean, what is the most important thing we have to put on our top of our agenda? Okay,
communication. The communication. Oh, sorry.
No, Jorge, if you said on the agenda for making the Balearics the greenest hub in the Mediterranean, what is the #1 thing on the agenda we have to look at?
Who's answering? Oh.
A very difficult question. The most important thing, perhaps the use of fuel. We shouldn't use fuel in the nautic sector, for instance.
Yeah.
Vision, I think, is very, very important, and the Posidonia Oceanic too is not possible. We should avoid that the ship found over the Posidonia. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Lucia.
I will say sewage and any type of discharge to the water. I will avoid anything to drop into the water. Sewage and also solids. I think it's the most important, because I understand that we are talking about local things, because I think in a global view is more important to achieve to avoid the heating of our world. If we can meet that 1 degree or 2 degrees that the United Nations is saying that is the limit, that will be fantastic. But that's a global thing, and we are more able to have a big impact in local things. So I will say stop sewage, stop anything being dropped into water.
Perfect. Angus?
Right, I think, well, I think the number one thing it's a 10-year plan. And I think, as Oscar said, it is bringing together all the stakeholders to bring that 10-year plan to something, but compartmentalizing everything into energy, sewage, recyclable materials, and something close to us is supply. So, the island is full of organizations that all purchase the same product, but off island. How can they all work together to bring that product on the island together, and then, and then distribute it? But I think the number one, before you can think about anything, the number one thing is a plan, and is a 10-year plan. That's the number one thing.
Good. Oscar, anything to add before I close?
Yeah, we have to communicate with the fleet, 100%. We have to make them communicate with the fleet of boats, 100%. Tell them, listen, we are going to create this paradise, and you are a key part of that. So come, join us, help us, do a little sacrifice, and then be part of it and enjoy it like never ever a big yacht has enjoyed clean waters and the city and the whole thing. We have to communicate more in all senses.
Bravo. I think, Alice, we have a very good session to close on. I'd like to suggest that Angelica's made a very good comment, and so has Nigel there, that I'd like to work with the Balearic Marine Cluster and the Yacht Show to do a sustainability brainstorm and make a plan, like Angus said, and I think it'd be really good fun, but also really valuable, and get all the stakeholders and people from outside of the island, as Angelica says, that can look at solutions and projects and ideas in a blue sky green way. And I think that's an interesting opportunity for 2021 with that 2030 goal on the agenda. So thank you very much, panel. Really enjoyed that. It's the start of something that Oscar might smile about. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
See you next year, or see you next month, or whenever. And Alice, thanks a million.
Thank you all so much.
Congratulations on the Balearic Yacht Show, and I love swimming in the Balearics. Simple as that. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adios.
Adios. See you.